winners. Kumi also on the Commanders thing. Sam Howell, kind of nice. Yes,
Nice.
we agree, as we just
Sam
discussed.
Howell,
I guess we'll Sean's like, I'm tired of hearing about Sam Howell.
Whatever. Kenny's gonna figure it out, guys. Kenny's gonna figure it out. All right.
Oh no, Sean.
Don't lead me down this dark path.
And speaking of getting the party started,
with a victory lap though. They ain't never seen nothing like this before. Lit the room when I came through the front door. Ask me if I stress overcome, what for? Train on the trees, please walk my sycamore. Touch burning sands, cross lands and stormy shore seasons in the year, yeah. Switch gears, we keeping haters in the rear. At the blood, sweat and tears and my goal so near. I see my victory so clear. I see my victory so clear. It's a day, we break through. 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 It's a day, we break through.
It's time for another episode of the Gridiron Podcast. That's for you, Sean. I'm Nick
Thank
Shook.
you.
That's Sean Barie down there. And ladies and gentlemen, returning to the podcast stage, North America's favorite podcast host. I can't speak. Let's try that over again. North America's favorite podcast host, Katie Caldwell. Katie, welcome back.
I am so happy to see you guys. I loved listening to the pod last week, but it didn't feel the same not being on it. I will be kind of in and out the next few pods. My situation is very fluid. But if you didn't hear last week, my dog is in his final days battling cancer, so he's doing okay this week. We're hanging in there. We're doing well, so it is time to jump on the pod with you guys, and I'm so grateful.
We're glad you're back, and send our best to Carl as well. Tell him he's a good boy. Give him belly
I
rubs.
will.
From me specifically, not from Nick. Those are my belly rubs.
My kibbles and bits. It is episode 15 of the Gridiron Podcast, and we got a lot to talk about here. Another pretty entertaining week in the NFL. I feel like early in football season, every week is entertaining because it's just football. But we didn't have a ton of clunker games. We had some pretty close games. It's not like it was a wild separation Saturday of college football type of stuff, but it was still entertaining. And we also had a crazy race in Singapore that we'll have to recap because F1, we had a couple weeks off there, and suddenly they're just shifting gears and pedal to the floor, seemingly all the way to the end of the season right now. Just one race after another race after another race. We got another one to talk about coming up as well. But of course, we are going to lead the show with the NFL. But before we do that, Katie, who are we shouting out right now?
Oh, so I want to talk about Edmonton Sports Talk. So some of you might be listening to us for the first time through that. So earlier this summer, TSN 1260 in Edmonton shut down. Bell Media cut the station along with numerous others, and it was a huge loss for the city of Edmonton. But some of the folks from the station started up what is now known as Edmonton Sports Talk. They've been around for just a couple weeks now. And it's been going really well. All the content is great. The flagship show is The Nielsen Show with Dustin Nielsen and Lieutenant Eric, both of whom I know, and they're so lovely and wonderful. And I'm just cheering for everybody there so hard. But they have brought on our podcast as one of the Friends of EST pods. So yeah, you can hear us streaming there Saturdays at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. But yeah, we're just really grateful that Dustin reached out and asked if we wanted to be a part of it. And what an honor, spelled with a U, because guys, we're talking Canada right now. We're spelling
Hello,
properly.
Canada. It has always been my dream to be on a radio show in the northernmost metropolis in North America. And now that dream has come true. Thank you.
What a gift.
It is.
But yeah,
Sean,
big
just
shout
showing
out
off.
to everyone in Edmonton Sports Talk. I'm so excited for them, and I'm really grateful to be tagging along with them.
Yeah, we are very excited to be a part of it. Hope that y'all in Canada can get on board with the Gridiron Podcast as we slowly but surely continue to grow our audience. We'll be here for the long haul because let's face it, football and Formula One ain't going anywhere, and neither are we. And speaking of football, Week 2 is in the books. A lot of 1-1 teams, a handful of 2-0 teams, a handful of 0-2 teams. That's the way things go in the NFL when you get to the first couple of weeks. Sean, do we just get it out of the way right now? I might as well just take the bludgeoning right now.
Yeah, let's go. So if you're listening for the first time, Nick is based out of Cleveland, Ohio. I grew up in Pittsburgh. How we became friends in college, I'll never know. But yeah, Nick, that Monday night game, that was boy, that was something, wasn't it? That was they did play a football game.
You can call it football
in Pittsburgh. I guess the cool thing is the Steelers extend their home Monday night winning streak to 29 games now or something like that. Haven't lost since 1991 at home on Monday night.
We were born.
I don't.
Not
even
all of us. I was going to ask, where were you guys in 1991? Forgetting that I was the only one born in that era.
I was merely a dirty
in the eye of Bob Barie,
or perhaps just being conceived. Who knows? Math says I had already bbeen conceived.
We are already much like that Monday night game. Oh my goodness, this podcast is already drunk. Yeah. It started off. You could tell this was going to be a crazy game. First play of the night was a pick six thrown by Deshaun Watson to Alex Highsmith, and from there on, the train just continued to slide off the tracks.
Okay. Can I just talk about that play? Because this set the tone for the entire night for the Browns and for Kevin Stefanski as a play caller, who as you guys know, am not a fan of him as a play caller. The guy comes out in 3 tight ends, 1 receiver, 1 running back, and then splits him out 5 wide and throws a quick out to Harrison Bryant, who had all week to practice this first play of their script. Him and Deshaun Watson had all week, and yet somehow they forgot what they were supposed to do because the ball glances off of Harrison Bryant's hands because Deshaun Watson throws it to where he expects him to be, which is near the boundary. Harrison Bryant throttled down. He kind of sat down on his route, which made his catch radius a little bit tighter. The throw was errant. As a result, glances off his hands. And none other than Alex Highsmith is back there to catch it, but not before somebody else actually intercepted it first. And then it was popped in the air and he caught it, took it back. Sean, I had shades of James Harrison returning that pick six in Super Bowl 43 playing through my head repeatedly. What a start for the Steelers. Really set the tone. A back and forth game, a sloppy game on both sides. Neither quarterback played well. Both defenses played well. One defense scored more than the other defense, and that was essentially the difference. In a game that I'm sure we're not going to forget for a long time. It was thrilling because it was crazy. It was sloppy. It was exciting. The environment was great. They played Renegade. I sent a poorly timed text.
Oh, no, that was amazing. Yes, I have to tell you this. We used to do a segment on this podcast called Tweet of the Week where we would just make fun of each other for dumb tweets we'd sent during the week. I want to bring that back, only it's now Text of the Week, because Nick texted me. If you didn't know, the Steelers, they play Renegade over the stadium's loudspeakers when they need the defense to come up with a big stop. So you can a lot of times hear it coming back from a commercial. Nick texts me as they're coming back from a commercial playing Renegade, terrible towels twirling in the Pittsburgh night, and he goes, "Hey, F Renegade." And not 5 minutes later, Alex Highsmith sacks Deshaun Watson, strips the ball, and TJ Watt's picking it up and returning it for a scoop and score. And that was the go-ahead score. That's all she wrote. So I just love how spectacularly that text backfired, Nick.
The decisive text of the week right there in that game. We did not talk about the most important headline from that game, though, which is early in the second quarter when the Browns are running the ball down the Steelers' throat and controlling the game on the ground, their best player on offense and one of the best running backs in the league, Nick Chubb, has a gruesome knee injury, suffers a terrible knee injury, season-ending knee injury when Minka Fitzpatrick goes low on him and hits his knee when his leg's planted in the ground. It went in a direction that a knee is not supposed to go in. Nick Chubb's season is over. We'll see when he comes back. It's the same knee he injured when he was in college at Georgia. And it's I wouldn't say catastrophic, but a bad injury. And the Browns were forced to go to Jerome Ford for the rest of the game. He ripped off a 69-yard touchdown run, which was nice, in fact. But otherwise, just really a heartbreaker for Browns fans, for football fans, because Nick Chubb is one of those guys that, he's not a diva. He never complains. He's the typical first in the door, last to leave, hardest worker on the team. You've seen the videos of him squatting 600 pounds, down in Georgia in the off season. You've seen, how well he plays on Sundays. He's a guy that, just scores and hands the ball off the ref like all the boomers love. And he's a good guy more than anything. And it's a real bummer to see him go down without a doubt, the NFL is worse off without a guy like him playing football.
Mhm.
Bottom line.
I have no allegiance to the Browns whatsoever, and that just broke my heart. All injuries are hard to watch, especially gruesome ones like that, but Nick Chubb is just someone that he makes the NFL different. He's someone that is just so easy to cheer for. He's such a cornerstone in that team. Like everything for the Browns is just vastly different now, especially with Deshaun Watson playing the way that he is. That was just a really heartbreaking one, and it was one that it just felt like the whole NFL community kind of took the same breath and just felt the same sick feeling in the pit of your stomach.
I do have to say, he is the only, as a Steelers fan, he is the only Brown that I actually like and will root for actively, not just because he's on my fantasy team, but because, I enjoy watching him play football. I enjoy the way he runs. Nick, you're right. He was controlling the game. The Browns were not controlling the game. Nick Chubb was controlling the game. And, I hope he does return. Nick, you texted me and said, thanks for ending, my favorite player's career. I hope it's not over. I really hope that's not the last we've seen of him.
Yeah.
I do have to say, too, this, it provided, or that moment provided one of the weirdest kind of moments in sports broadcasting that I've ever watched live, because ESPN, ABC, they refused to show the replay. But you hear Joe Buck start to say, we have been told that the replay of Nick Chubb's injury, and as soon as he says those words, all of Heinz Field just gasps and lets out a groan. All 67,000 people in attendance just go, ooh! And you could hear Joe Buck say, yeah, we're not going to be showing that. So,
yeah, to the credit of Steelers fans, they did give him a bit of an ovation when he left.
As they should.
As he was being loaded onto the cart. So very classy out of you, Steelers fans, which is not a term I typically use to describe fans of the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I was very impressed in that moment, without a doubt. All right, we move on from that to some other games that happened during the week. That was obviously, I think, one of the biggest headlines from the week of football in the NFL. Sean, what were some big games that stood out to you?
There were a lot of fun ones. I'll tell you that. I mean, Vikings and Eagles was more fun than I thought it would be on Thursday night. You got the Falcons erasing a 2-possession deficit over the Packers in the final, 11 minutes and change of that game. The Bills looked dominant. They moved to 1-1. Bengals start 0-2 for the second time in a row. To me though, one of the games I looked at was the game I covered, the game I was at on Sunday here in Tampa. Was Bucs Bears. When's the last time Baker Mayfield looked like an MVP candidate?
Whoa!
Because he was for real.
Easy.
That's what I'm
drinking
saying,
that Buccaneer Kool-Aid.
That's what I'm saying. I'm drinking the red and pewter Kool-Aid down here. It was fun. It was fun to watch him. It was fun to watch him play. It was fun to see the Bucs kind of have a dominant win. It was only a 10-point win, but the game seemed more out of hand than that. I don't know where the Bears go from here, because Justin Fields was just flat out bad against that Bucs defense, which at this point you could probably say is definitely a top 10, maybe a top 5 defense in the league. But I definitely think it was a statement win, because all offseason we've been talking about the NFC South like they're the little sisters of the poor. 3 of the 4 teams are 2-0.
I'm curious.
For now, I don't trust. I get what you're saying. I don't trust that these teams are actually as good as their records relative to other teams in the league. It's obviously been a weird couple weeks, but it is wild. It is because none of us really saw that coming. Especially when we do the division previews and we walk through the schedule and that's going to be 0-2 and 0-2, and then it's like
I had the Bucs in our division previews. I had the Bucs at 6-11. I mean, they better start losing some games quicker, else I'm going to look like an idiot.
That means they're going 4-11 the rest of the way, baby. I think I have some concerns. I'm a little skeptical. I think the defense is the strength of this team. When you watch them, you realize, they still got some dogs on that side of the ball. They still got Jamel Dean. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka has been playing pretty well as a pass rusher. Shaq Barrett's still there. Levante David, Devin White. But you've also got some young kids that are making a difference. The rookie Isian, Zion McCollum, another one. Guys that you don't expect to step up and play well have played well. I also think that they've run into 2 teams that are not good litmus tests. The Vikings, as we all kind of agreed, are the team that takes a step back in the NFC North this year, and they eked out a win over them because the Vikings essentially handed them the ball repeatedly.
I was going to say the Vikings probably win that game if they don't turn it over 3 times.
A narrow win, and I think the Bears are going to end up being in the bottom 5 teams in the NFL by the end of the season. And based on what happened in Chicago today, we'll see if they can even make it to the end of the season in one piece. It's not looking good there after 2 losses for the Bears.
What I want to know, Nick, or actually I should ask Katie this. The Chargers.
Ugh.
You see what happened was Katie, what is going honestly?
Yes,
I mean,
go on. Sorry.
You should feel proud about your Seahawks. I mean, I don't want to say exposed the Lions, but brought them back down to earth a little bit. But the Chargers, I did not have them starting 0-2, especially with a loss to the Titans.
Yeah, that was bad. If we're doing winners and losers, spoiler alert, I may be talking about them a little later, so I might hold off on my Charger chat. Not going to say which category, but they're in there.
I think we all have a pretty good idea of where they end up. The Seahawks and Lions, all they do is play shootouts, baby. They just put up points with the Lions. That's just what these two teams do. You put 21 on the board in week 1, you tack on 10 more in week 2 against the Seahawks. The Seahawks went to sleep in the second half of week 1 and their loss to the Rams, a surprise loss. And they're like, you know what? We're going to play all 4 quarters and some overtime this time around. Put 37 on the board. Geno Smith looking a lot like he did last year. You know, it's funny because 2 quarterbacks that we didn't expect anything from a year ago, and Geno Smith and Jared Goff, 2 quarterbacks who had significant votes of confidence placed in their favor this past offseason after having surprisingly good years last year. And both played really well in that game. One of the deciding factors in that game was Jared Goff's interception, his first pick thrown in nearly 400 pass attempts, which I kind of jinxed him by writing about it on NFL.com during the week. I'm sorry, Jared, but both of them played really well. It was a fun affair. I don't think it takes away anything from the Lions, who are going to continue to be a fun team to watch. Makes them kind of put their foot in the mouth after saying, "Hey, wear the blue ski mask at the game." But overall, that was just a fun game.
If you want to be the villains, occasionally the bad guys do lose.
Hey, John, sorry, I'm talking to America here.
What about Canada?
Katie, we're talking to Canada right now.
I'm talking to Canada here.
Excuse me.
Have some faith. Have some pride in your home country, Katie.
That was one of my favorite mic'd up moments. That was so unintentional and beautiful. I'm such a fan of Geno Smith to begin with. I've kind of been on the Greg Rosenthal train, not as much as him, but earlier than most, just because
friend of the pod.
But that game was really fun. I didn't catch the whole thing. This week 2 analysis on my end will be a lot more vibes based, just due to my weekend was a little chaotic and I didn't get to catch all the games like I would want. But that one was a really fun one. We expected a shootout. It was Josh Reynolds.
Having a year.
And I've been on the Josh Reynolds train for a couple seasons now. He's married to my very dear friend Haley. They got married this summer. But he's showing out.
Yeah, he is.
He's having quite the year.
He's not a guy that you look at on paper and think that's a guy, but he's becoming a guy.
Well, and people forget that him and Jared Goff have played together before. Yeah.
No, people overlook that when they look at teams on paper all the time. One other thrilling game before we go to winners and losers. One other thrilling game was down in Atlanta between the Packers, who looked like world beaters after dominating the Bears in week 1, and the Falcons, who are 2-0 because, spoiler alert, they beat the Packers in thrilling fashion. I'm going to bring in a chat participant right now, our good buddy Logan. He's got a hot take. He says the Packers and Falcons game was a playoff preview for the wild card round. That means Logan thinks that either the Falcons or the Packers are going to win their division and the other team's going to make it as a wild card team. Logan, it's early. I'm not going to say you're crazy, but that would be an outrageous development if that came to fruition, my friend.
That would be a little bit crazy. I don't hate the pick. I don't hate that, but at the same time, I don't know. I just have a tough time believing that one of those 2 teams will win their division. I have a tougher time believing the Packers are going to win their division, I guess.
I'm looking at the Falcons with that one. I don't think that's outrageous.
Logan. Yeah, that's what Logan's saying too. He's saying the Falcons are going to win the division.
Oh, okay, there we go. I see him now. Yeah, Falcons win the South, baby. I mean, it's doable. Yeah, Falcons.
Big Buccaneer guy here,
baby.
New Orleans,
yeah, he's
all 2-0.
I mean, you got big Bucko Bruce down here in the bottom of the screen. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, where you can find us at twitch.tv/the Nick Shook and the Gridiron Pod page on YouTube. Down there, he's wearing black, but in his heart right now it's split between black and gold and pewter and red. and a little bit of creamsicle.
And a
just
little
put
bit of
on top.
creamsicle. Just one game.
Just an awful color scheme altogether.
Yeah.
It's Tampa, baby.
All right. Let's transition here to a little bit of winners and losers from week 2, guys. Katie, why don't you start off with some losers? Let's get the bad out of the
Some
way.
losers. Okay.
Vibes
Yeah.
only. Vibes only.
Well, spoiler alert. My first loser is going to be the Los Angeles Chargers / Brandon Staley. It's yet another season of the Chargers being a verb. And I don't need to tell fans this, but you don't want your favorite NFL team to be a verb. The Chargers keep chargering. They have the talent. They keep losing. They have the quarterback. They have the pass rushers. They have the running backs. They have the receivers. I could go on. And they have expectations. They're simply not meeting them. And I want to like Staley. We've talked about it on the pod before. I think it was with Omar, where the blatant mistake that he made last season, where he played his starters in a meaningless game, and then Mike Williams gets hurt. He misses the playoff game. Like, he's made some big blatant mistakes, but I keep trying to give him grace. I think he's really smart. I think he deserves a lot of the criticism he's getting right now. I think it looks like he's playing not to lose. And Brandon Staley is a coach that is known for how aggressive he is. And it feels like he's gone so far away from that. And when I look at this team, I know we're only 2 games in, but it's so weird because they came off such a historic loss in the playoffs. And Staley keeps saying, no, it has nothing to do with the Jags game. And it might not. But when I look at it, it looks like there's not one distinct area where it's all going wrong. It just feels like it's all of it. And you see flashes of it. I think Justin Herbert is an incredible quarterback. When I watch them, I just don't trust them. And I think a lot of Chargers fans probably feel the same way.
Ooh, that's a damning statement right there. I don't trust them. I don't
She's
trust
not
a
mad.
team
Do you?
that has
But she's
has
just
a
disappointed.
great
I'm also mad.
quarterback.
I'm both.
Who do you not trust more on the Chargers, Katie? Is it Brandon Staley, or is it some other players and members of that team?
I think it's just the team as a whole, because which goes back to the original point of the Chargers are going to charger.
Is it culture or?
I don't. That's what. When I watch it, I can't figure out exactly what it is. There are certain teams that you watch, and in the fourth quarter, you feel like they're never going to be out of this. Like the last few years, I felt that with watching the Bengals. Sometimes there's different teams where you watch and you go, okay, like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. Like there are certain systems where you just go, okay, Josh Allen, they can turn it out and just bang, 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 get it done. When I watch the Chargers, it just always feels like, even when they're ahead, things can go south so poorly, so quickly. And they're 0-2, and I didn't expect it. The AFC is really tough. Their division is really tough. I just don't feel good when I watch them as someone that cares about the Los Angeles Chargers. It just doesn't feel right. And I don't know what to do if I'm in that building. Like, I don't know if Brandon Staley is the answer. I don't know if it's a cultural issue. I just don't like what I'm seeing.
They feel like a good, not great team, and like they're going to lose a lot of games like they lost in week 1 and really in week 2 as well. Like, you're right there. You're right there. Just don't call 3 straight passes to start overtime and maybe you win that game. Like, simple mistake. Simple. Get 1 stop against the Dolphins in the fourth quarter. Don't get flagged for intentional grounding when you're trying to mount a comeback drive in the final minute of the game against the Dolphins. Like, just little things at the end of the game where they just get a little off kilter, and all that work through the 4 quarters goes to waste, and you end up 0-2. But I agree, that is a good loser. Sean, can you pick me a loser here for yourself? Give me a loser.
I'm going to come right back down here to Tampa because I don't know. The Bears are pretty bad losers right now. They get smashed in week 1. They lose in week 2. They make Baker Mayfield look good somehow.
Woof.
And outside of their first drive of the game, which ended in a touchdown, you saw absolutely no offensive creativity. You saw absolutely nothing from either the Bears offense or from Justin Fields. And I feel like Chicago and Bears fans as a whole. By the way, I hope friend of the pod, Austin Coley, is listening to this right now. Maybe he can chime in and help us out. But they're starting to run out of excuses for Justin Fields. This was supposed to be the year where he was supposed to put it together. This was the year where he had weapons. He has Chase Claypool, for better or for worse. He has DJ Moore. He has Colt Kmet. He has these weapons to throw to, and nothing. Now, again, the Bucs defense is pretty stout. But at the same time, he couldn't read a defense to save his life. He couldn't will his team back into that game. He was holding on to the ball way too long. I did see a stat that since he has entered the league, he has held the ball 4 seconds more than any quarterback in the league, and he's also taken more sacks after holding the ball 4 seconds or longer, more than any other quarterback in the league. He's got to get rid of it. He's got to figure it out. But also, man, he's Justin Fields. Like, he can move, and he just wasn't. There were opportunities for him to escape the pocket. There were opportunities for him to extend plays with his feet or to move the sticks with his feet, and he just wasn't. I don't know if it was because it was 102 degrees on the field at kickoff, but either way, I saw nothing from Justin Fields, and for that, Bears are losers for week 2.
Can I defend him for a second? Because that offensive line is terrible. Like, when I went and ran that replay back, I think it was yesterday, I was blown away by the fact that he had no time to throw for most of that game.
Not to mention, by the way, not to mention that today he kind of insinuated that his poor performance was maybe on coaching decisions, so much so that he had to then call for a second press conference, which if you're not in the media, you don't understand how rare that is when a team immediately hosts a second press conference later on in the day just for someone to walk back the statements that they had made earlier in the day. That's wild. So
a locker room scrum, nonetheless.
Yeah, Bears are not having a good week right now.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't put all the blame on him. I think that he spoke candidly today, and I think that he learned a hard lesson in being too honest to the public. Matt Eberflus, to his credit, did not, bristle at those comments. He kind of, was on the same page with him and said, yeah, maybe we need to simplify some things so he's not there thinking and he's playing with his instincts. He's playing freely. But at 0-2, when you have so little time to throw so often and nothing is working for your offense, and you do rip some nice passes down the field, but you also make some dumb decisions, like when you threw the pick 6 to Quay Walker in week 1 or when you got picked off on the sideline last week against the Buccaneers.
They tried to run the same play 3 straight times against the Bucs, and the third time they tried to run the same play, Shaq Barrett had a pick 6.
Which is coaching, right? So, everything's going poorly for them right now. It's not just Justin Fields. He's the quarterback who takes the most heat, but it's not just him. I will say that. I'm going to go with my loser here real quick. The Denver Broncos. 2 weeks, 2 close losses, and the second one being the most painful. You took a 21-3 lead over the Commanders. Russell Wilson was back, baby. He's throwing moonshots to Marvin Mims. Everything's looking great. This is the Russ that they were supposed to get in Denver last year. And then it evaporated. It's almost like, and I said this in the Around the NFL podcast, it's almost like he got a taste of that fine wine of the superstar plays. And he's like, I want to get hammered off this. Give me more of that. And then he realized he was
no more dangerous hangover than a wine hangover.
Yeah, that's for sure. And he's probably dealing with one.
I know.
He's dealing with one all week. We all know that too well. And what he came to find out was there wasn't even alcohol in it in the second half. He was chugging sparkling grapes. All right, sparkling grape juice. That's what he had in his glass. They fell apart and allowed the Commanders back into the game. Sam Howell, by the way, sorry for doubting you. You've played great football through 2 weeks, but my God, Broncos, you had this one in your hands. And then to make matters worse, you throw a Hail Mary at the end of the game and it's tipped and caught in the end zone and you fail to get the 2-point conversion to send it to overtime. Just a real gut punch for Broncos fans in week 2. And they're going into week 3 in a similar place that they were in last year, 0-2. Not good. Not good at all. Let's transition to some winners. Katie, I need a winner.
Oh, I thought we were going to do multiple losers. Can I sneak in one quick one? Because I think it's funny.
Sure, why not?
So I think for losers, every single NFL fan watching Sunday Night Football when the ref ruled that play inches short. And if you watch that game, you know the exact play I'm talking about. Mike Gesicki caught a pass from Mac Jones, flips the ball over to number 69, Cole Strange, a very aesthetically pleasing play. The refs initially ruled it a first down, and then it was overturned. The play was chaotic. It was gorgeous. The score was 24-17, so they could have gone on to tie it. And I think the entire football universe, outside of Dolphins fans, wanted that call to stand.
I will say it was not a first down, but at the same time, this is when you need that Buffalo Wild Wings button to be pressed. Going, guys, that was too beautiful to not. That was too beautiful to not count. Just give them the extra inch. No one's gonna care.
Just let us live.
Yeah,
Why can't
refs
you just
blow
let us
calls
live?
all the time. They missed a DPI call at the end of that Broncos-Commanders game, also at the end of the Steelers-Browns game. Just, hey,
There you go. Thank you.
Let nature take its course, all right? Cole Strange got a first down, sort of.
Objectivity.
In my heart,
Sean
he
Taylor.
did. I just feel like we are all losers with that having happened the way that it did, and I hate that for us.
We have some loser contributions. I hate that for us as well. From the chat, let's see here. We got our buddy Chris, Sing for the Day, says, loser Giants, worst in the division, missing a star player. Chris, I'm going to push back on this because did you see the comeback they pulled off against the Cardinals? My God, they woke up from their off-season slumber.
Did he turn it off
fantastic.
at halftime?
I was going to say, you can't be a loser if you won the game.
The biggest comeback since like the 40s.
Yeah,
I mean, my God,
in the Super Bowl
Daniel
era.
Jones, guys, Daniel Jones put up like 250 yards in the second half. He finished with over. He had like 48 at halftime or something crazy. I'm watching him checking the stats last night, going, I'm sitting there watching it, going, how the hell do they lose this game? And then I see them score the first touchdown. I'm like, okay. And then the second touchdown, and I'm watching the Cardinals offense just go into a shell, and I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna let him back into it. The loss of that is the loss of Saquon Barkley, which stinks, especially on a short week against a Niners team that you could certainly use him for. But I mean, they are lucky to be 1-1, and they have only themselves to credit because they decided to play football again after not playing football for 6 quarters. Didn't score their first touchdown of the 2023 season until their 7th quarter of action, and they came away with the same record as the Browns and the Steelers. How about that for you? More losers from the chat here. I'm scrolling. Kumi, our buddy Kumi checking in, says, loser, Colts losing Anthony Richardson, development momentum. I have to agree. Richardson, 2 rushing touchdowns within the first 6 minutes of the game on Sunday against the Texans. Suffers a concussion, out for the rest of the game. They go on to win with Gardner Minshew, but Richardson has been looking pretty solid in this offense. Shane Steichen is doing a great job. Former Chargers coach, by the way, Katie, as you know. Shane Steichen doing a great job putting together an offense that fits around Anthony Richardson's strengths. He's not asking him to do too much with his arm. He's letting him use his legs. 2 touchdowns on 2 designed quarterback runs, one being a QB draw, the other one being like a nice little bit of trickery with some orbit motion and a fake handoff, and then he just takes it himself. Kid's an athlete. He's playing really well. He's not playing like your best passer in the league, not like a Patrick Mahomes, but he's using his strengths to his advantage right now, and they are, finding success as a result. They could very easily be 2-0 right now. So those are our losers, and of course, Big B chiming in with the obvious point: losers, Nick Chubb's leg.
We're all losers on that one.
We are all losers
because we don't get to
watch
that. Nick Chubb.
All right, winners. Katie.
I never imagined I'd be using this team under winners, but I'm an honest woman. I'm going to say the Washington Commanders.
Oh, baby. We're all on the same page there.
Notably, Eric Bieniemy and Sam Howell. You brought it up, Nick, and I heard you talking about him on the Around the NFL podcast. He's not perfect. He can hold on to the ball too long, doesn't necessarily thrive under pressure. He looks good. He looks way better than I ever imagined. He looks like he has a good feel for the offense, and he's somewhat in control of it. And I like their receivers, and I like their running back situation. And I just feel like the vibes are a little higher in Washington now that Dan Snyder is gone. They're selling out their games. Like, it just feels like things are a bit different there. And Nick, I was with you where I was not super excited about Sam Howell. That wasn't anything I was really looking forward to this season. And he's someone that I'm excited to watch.
Yeah. This was my winner too, but I'll adjust on the fly. Sam Howell, I went into the season thinking, how can you put your stock into a guy who played 1 game last year? And Ron Rivera said, hey, I think it was with Albert Breer. He had an interview with him where he said, I realized it in that week 18 game that went over the Cowboys last year. Like, oh, this is our guy. This is the guy. I wish I would have figured this out sooner. Maybe we would have had a shot to make the playoffs. Well, now I'm seeing it, Ron. I'm on board, baby. The kid is confident. He's cool. He's collected. He's got a good arm. He's not afraid to stand there and take a hit. He's not afraid to take off and run and pick up extra yards. He's doing it all. He's playing like he did in college at North Carolina. In fact, he's playing better than he did in his final year at North Carolina. And because of the weapons they have around him, they're putting together, they threw, 35 points on the board in that win over the Broncos. And I believe, they were down 21-3 and then outscored the Broncos 32-12 to finish that game. And really, it would have been 32-6 if not for that Hail Mary at the end of the game. That's quite a performance, and a lot of that is credited to Sam Howell and their defense, by the way. Their defense has absolutely suffocated opponents in second halves for 2 weeks. They put that game away against Arizona, and they shut down Russell Wilson and the Broncos. Super impressed by their highly touted defensive front. It's definitely producing for them. All right, Sean, winner. Give me a winner.
I'm going with everyone's favorite fantasy darling this year, Puka Nacua.
Yes.
What did he just break the record for like most receptions to start a career for your first 2 games? The dude's on fire. He's just fun to watch. The Rams are kind of fun to watch again too, and especially when Cooper Kupp went to the IR. You're like, oh, what are they going to do? They're getting rid of Cam Akers. Matt Stafford might not have it anymore. Hey, this is a fun team to watch. They only lost by 1 possession to the Niners, who at this point look like one of the, if not the best team in the league, maybe Cowboys withstanding. But like, hey, Puka Nacua, rookie, having himself a nice little start to his career. So I'll call him a winner this week. It's also fun to say his name.
It totally
Puka
is.
Nacua, if you want to know the state of the Rams offense without Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua was targeted 20 times in that game against the 49ers. And he's not just a Cooper Kupp replacement. They're using him in a variety of different roles, and he's really stepping up. The kid from Brigham Young, balling right now and helping that offense stay afloat. Matthew Stafford, by the way, looks good again.
Yeah.
Like he
Yes,
looks
he does.
healthy. He looks like he used to look. So maybe they won't be as bad as we thought they would be.
The Rams look way better than I thought. I will eat crow on that one because so many of us totally wrote off the Rams this season. And not only have they been serviceable, they've been a fun watch. Like they've been kind of proper good, and it's really confusing.
It makes you come to realize that like on paper and taken from one year to the next is not nearly as rock solid as you think it is, especially for a team that did like nothing in the offseason. Credit to Sean McVay for coaching up a group that now has no expectations. He can kind of mold them in his image, and he's getting the most out of these guys. Hell, they traded Cam Akers away today. Addition by subtraction, in my opinion. That was a guy who didn't want to be a part of the team after realizing he was going to lose some snaps to Kyron Williams. And they said, get out of here, Cam. That trade request you made last year, we're fulfilling it now. We'll see you never. Have fun in Minnesota, sir. All we wanted for you was a late round pick swap. We just wanted to get you off the team. So they're moving forward, man. They don't care what anybody thinks. Not saying they're going to win the division, but they will be a fun watch on a week-by-week basis. Kumi had an interesting point on the Commanders that I'd like to bring up here. He said, on the Commanders topic, is Chase Young a bust? No, he's not. He played his first game healthy on Sunday. He had a key sack in that game, taking down Russell Wilson when he was trying to evade and rush out to the right late in the game. I think that big phrase on the Around the NFL podcast.
Young and sweaty.
Young and sweaty. Young and sweaty's back, baby.
We're back, baby. We are so back.
I don't think he's going to make the money that we thought he would once make, but I think that if he stays healthy, he can put together a pretty solid season. That group's so good up there that he's not going to see a ton of extra attention, so he's going to get opportunities. Bust is a bit of an extreme to describe him. Obviously, he was picked very high, but I think he's going to have a solid season, so we'll say no on that. Let's see. Anybody winners in the chat? Let's see. Winners, Kumi also on the Commanders thing. Sam Howell, kind of nice. Yes, nice. We agree, as we just discussed. Yeah. I guess we'll Sean's like, I'm tired of hearing about Sam Howell.
Whatever. Kenny's gonna figure it out, guys. Kenny's gonna figure it out. All right.
Oh no, Sean.
Don't lead me down this dark path.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, we're here for you regardless of what happens with Kenny Pickett. Okay.
2 good defenses, Sean. They're gonna play a bad defense. In fact, who do they play this week? Let's go down the schedule real quick. They play the Raiders. It's time. Raiders, Texans, that's 2 games he's going to get on track right before they play Baltimore at home. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. I expect more. For sure. See, there you go. We're boosting you right now.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
My winner from this week is probably going to be the Atlanta Falcons because, let's face it, Arthur Smith doesn't give a damn what you think. He's going to coach his team how he wants to. He's going to run the ball 12 straight times and score a touchdown on you if he wants to, like he did against the Browns last year. And he's going to ride with Desmond Ridder. And after 1 week, it looked like a bad decision, even though they won that game. Not so much after week 2. I have been on the fence, about as on the fence as you could be with Desmond Ridder, because I think at times he looks overwhelmed, but he's athletic and he's got a pretty solid arm, and he showed it off in that comeback performance against the Packers. That is going to be a game that could serve as a turning point for these Falcons. Yeah, they're 2-0, but does that propel them to win the division, as Logan said before he checked out for the night? Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. But with the combination of Bijan Robinson back there, who is electric, they're really finding Drake London in the passing game a lot. Kyle Pitts even getting a little involved. And that defense is playing with more attitude than I think we have seen from them in the last 5 years, really since the Dan Quinn era when he was the DC on that team. They're fun to watch. Their ceiling is not like extremely high, but anytime you can watch Bijan run through between the tackles and make guys miss, which he does pretty routinely, catches passes out of the backfield, does whatever you want, it's a good watch, and it's fun because it's a team that's very unorthodox. Like I said, Arthur Smith doesn't care what you think.
Or about your fantasy team.
He does not. He doesn't think about his mustache either, by the way. Which strong mustache, Arthur. Keep that thing riding. They're my winner, 2-0. A surprise 2-0 for sure. Do we have anything else from winners and losers that we would like to toss in here before we move on?
I'm good.
I would just say very quick, Chiefs defense. They were a big winner for me.
Man, Trevor Lawrence. If it was horseshoes or hand grenades, he'd be an all-star.
Or if the end zone was just longer.
Just this much longer.
I think Zay Jones would have had like 45 touchdowns.
Yeah. Yeah, it was tough to see them lose a game that I think was very winnable. Yeah, Chiefs defense
goals. Did you guys not think that game was going to be a shootout? I did.
No,
often, those expectations. I mean, how often does that happen?
Well, it happens in Lions Seahawks. We have two.
I was just about to say.
What is it? One's a fluke, 2 is a coincidence, 3 is a trend, something like that. We're almost to the trend part with Lions Seahawks. But yeah, I
Spags getting it done, baby.
Yeah, aggressive, getting after Trevor Lawrence and making him miss the throws just barely. All right, that does it for winners and losers from week 2, and that does it for our NFL talk. We could look ahead to week 3, but I think you can find a million places to get your game previews, including the NFL page on YouTube, where you'll find my picks every week. Come at me in the mentions. I know you will when I get them wrong. But right now I'm in 3rd place among all of our analysts, so I'm doing all right.
Also, Nick doing the quarterback index. I don't think we've talked about this on the podcast before. I was so excited when I read that.
Thank you, Katie. I appreciate it. You can find that at NFL.com/QB index every Thursday. I filed it today. It'll be up tomorrow. A lot of movers this week. Sean's not going to like it. Browns fans aren't going to like it either. Commanders fans, you'll enjoy it. Dolphins fans too. I think I finally, thanks to Tua's successful first 2 weeks, different fashion, I've finally gotten Dolphins fans off my back. And maybe Titans fans will follow them and climb off my back as well, as Steve Young once pulled the proverbial monkey off his back when he won a Super Bowl. We're getting close thanks to their performances. So check that out, NFL.com QB Index. Thank you, Katie, for the plug. And Katie, can we remind our folks in the middle of the show before we transition what they can do to support the show?
Oh, if you would like to support the show, please open your cell phone right now. Leave a review. Leave 5 stars. You might just be lucky enough that we can read it on the pod. Give you a little shout out. But yeah, it really, really, really does help us. We're eternally grateful for all of our lovely listeners. I also got a few really nice messages from listeners over this last week. So
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, listeners. Thank you. We do it all
we
for
have
you.
been promising. Yeah, just for you, because we obviously don't make any money off of this. We have been promising to read your reviews, but we need your reviews to be able to read your reviews. So supply those, please.
We have people that have just been leaving like the 5-star, the 4-star reviews, which I mean, come on, 5-star folks. Come on.
Yeah.
If you're already at 4, just
talk to us.
That extra one. Yeah, that extra one.
Just pull us aside. Talk to us.
Write a review too, and then we'd read it out on here. All right, Nick, let's go to I can't say America's favorite game show anymore. North America's favorite game show.
And maybe even England. I know we have some listeners in Australia, New Zealand, America, the world's favorite game show. Big B, what is it?
Do you even know?
Oh, do you even know? Today, Katie Caldwell returns to the podcast and you can find herself in the crosshairs of her 2 fellow co-hosts. Sean, what is our topic for Do You Even Know today?
Well, the topic for Do You Even Know, which of course Katie has no idea what it is until I say it right now, is sports in real life.
And for those that are new listeners to the show, first of all, welcome. Second of all, I am historically and hilariously bad at sports trivia. Sean, it's only okay when I say it. I'm really bad at this. So almost every time after I'm quizzed on Do You Even Know, I try to just quit the podcast because I'm really bad at it. So every time it's me in the rundown, I just go, for the love of God, go easy on me. I'm a smart woman. I'm a capable woman. I'm just really bad at trivia.
All right, we're going to try and take it easy on you today, but we can only go so far. So sports in real life, these are just, questions about when sports and real life kind of blend together, just everyday problems that we all face or everyday, celebrations that we encounter, which is the topic of our first question, Katie. Do you even know which current MLB manager is credited with inventing the high five?
No.
Really?
You
No.
want to take a guess?
No.
Why? Just guess any of the 32 managers in Major League Baseball.
I don't know this answer, Sean. I'm also not a big baseball guy. Can I say a former one? Can I say John Gibbons? He was always my favorite. He was a big high five guy.
It was not John Gibbons.
High five's really old, Katie. By the way, I gave my nephew an instruction on how, because I'm always like, high five, he's 3, and he'll give you a high five, but then I was trying to get him to learn how to count, and I was like, hey, how many, whatever it was, is in the room, and I was like, can you count your fingers? 1, 2, and he's like, 2, 3, and I was like, what's next? And he's like, 24, and I was like, what?
Yeah,
there's
baby.
5 fingers, that's why it's a high five.
I feel like the high five has
dumb
existed for
3-year-old.
like thousands of years. There's no way that this person that invented it is on this planet right now.
He is. And in fact, he manages the reigning World Series champs, the Houston Astros. It's Dusty Baker.
Credited
What?
for inventing the high five? I'm
He
calling
is
bullshit.
credited
No
for
way.
inventing the high five. Yes.
I quit the podcast.
Who invented the high five?
Yeah, are you asking Jeeves while we're live?
Oh, wow. It really is. Oh, I guess that explains why when you see a bunch of sports highlights from the 80s, everyone's celebrating by just high-fiving each other. There's no way we got to this point in history without people slapping hands in celebration and congratulations.
We've
It did
always
not-
slapped hands.
We had to wait till the 70s? They were
Yep.
in the free love movement before they decided to high five?
No, I still don't believe it.
I don't either. Wikipedia says that there are many origin stories of the high five, but the 2 most documented candidates are Dusty Baker and Glenn Burke of the LA Dodgers professional baseball team, and 2 other members of the Louisville Cardinals men's college basketball team a year later.
My guess would have been that it would go all the way back to the Roman Empire. Which
Which we think about a lot.
how often do you guys think about the Roman Empire?
Kumi says no shot. I agree.
I thought that
I
was
don't know.
common knowledge. Sorry.
No, but it might be for most people. But as we talked about off the top of the segment, sometimes
You know,
I'm a bit of an idiot.
I have a thing about the Roman Empire real quick. That should be how often do you think about World War II? That would really tap in, I think, more than the Roman Empire. Who's sitting there thinking about like Julius Caesar? Who's doing that? Oh, I tell you what, the reason that the Roman Empire fell is because it got too big for his britches. Like, nobody's sitting there thinking that. They're thinking about how, Germany lost World War II because they tried to fight a war on 2 fronts. Right, Sean?
Who's thinking about historical events?
I think about World War II a lot.
I know, but that's why this whole trend is so wild to me, because I don't think about war very much.
See,
Unless
I'm
it's
a
current.
history nerd. So like I will be walking on the treadmill and I'll watch like videos on like building an empire, ancient Greece, building an empire, the Roman,
so he
the
does.
fall
He
of
does.
the
So
Byzantine.
you
Roman
do-
Empire.
Oh, I think about the Roman Empire constantly, at least a couple of times a week.
That is so funny to me.
I'm surprised that like I'm not the only one, and then once I realized, oh, you know what? Like, yeah, it was such a momentous like moment in history. Well, like 1,500 years of history, if we're counting the Byzantine Empire, of course, or the Eastern Roman Empire. whatever
Of
you wanna call it.
course, duh.
Either way, it also baffled me that it took people so long to figure it out that this many people think about the Roman Empire.
I have
Anyway,
so many questions.
and
Sean,
I
go for
digest.
question 2.
Okay, I'll go for
question
go
2.
for question 2.
We can just skip on by. I'm sure we won't get it.
All right, Katie. This one I need you to think hard about because I think you can get this one. Do you even know?
Don't you put that
Which-
on me.
Do you even know which athlete is credited with becoming the first sportsman billionaire?
Oh, who's a billionaire? I know Toto Wolff's a billionaire, but I
He
know
is a
he's not
billionaire, but he
first.
wasn't the first.
I
You
know.
are, however, I will give you a hint, you're on the right track.
Right track.
You're on the right track.
Is it F1?
I cannot answer that.
Oh, well. Skip me.
It should be a clue, Katie.
They're on the right track. I don't think I know any F1 billionaires other than like owners.
Are you sure?
Lewis isn't a billionaire.
He's not, no.
This is really exciting stuff for the listeners.
I will say
can just tell.
they are not an active athlete at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Take a wild guess. Take a wild guess at what athlete in F1's history might be a billionaire.
In F1's history, Sebastian Vettel.
I swear to God, it's like herding cats right now. It's Michael Schumacher.
Michael Schumacher is a billionaire?
Apparently, according to a Google search, he did it just before MJ and Tiger
Really?
Woods. Yes. There's some debate on who got it first between Tiger Woods, MJ, and Michael Schumacher, but I'm going with Michael Schumacher because this is an F1 podcast as well.
Okay.
And I think LeBron's on that list.
The more
now,
you
too.
know.
LeBron is also in that, yes. For LeBron, Jack Nicklaus is in there, and so is Arnold Palmer.
Steph
But
Curry's
again,
got to be close. No?
No,
I
not
don't think he has as
close
many
to those
points as
6 that I
Denver's.
just mentioned.
Mm.
But yes, Michael
Kumi chimes
Schumacher.
in your defense, Katie. Kumi is chiming in saying, this is cyberbullying.
Thank you, Kumi.
Agrees with it.
I never
You're
would
not
have got Michael Schumacher, ever.
I literally was like, yeah, you're on the right track with Toto. Well, like, just think, like, you could have shouted any one of the, like, former world champions.
This is why I don't
Maybe-
like this segment.
Okay. Nick, go for the last one.
All right, Katie.
I'm gonna go take a Advil.
Don't cyberbully me.
This one should be a little bit easier. Which baseball
We say that
team-
every time.
Sean's
It's true.
getting so frustrated with
I've
me.
been unnecessarily hard on Sean with my questions lately, by the way. I'm not going to be as hard with you because I wasn't prepared for this. I just came up with this on the fly. Katie, do you even know which baseball team is, I believe, the only one to enforce a strict dress code when it comes to their appearance on the field?
On the field.
That's kind of too much words. That's like when the multiple choice includes
Think
the detail that
facial
doesn't
hair.
Think facial hair. Texas Rangers.
matter. No. Would you like to guess again?
No. Pittsburgh.
Take a.
Is it
No,
Pittsburgh?
you have one more guess.
You got one more guess.
Cleveland.
No. The answer is the New York Yankees because
Oh,
Steinbrenner
yeah, right.
required
Facial
them
hair.
to shave their facial hair and have. I went to Catholic school, so I also dealt with this as a child. I had to wear a tie to school every day from 1st through 8th grade, and your hair could not touch your collar. Also existed in high school, and girls' skirts could not be more than, I think, like an inch above their knee. It was the New York Yankees. Their hair could not touch their collar. They had to shave their faces. They still
They
enforced
can
somewhat
have
of a...
mustaches. Famously. No beards, mustaches.
So Arthur Smith would
Right.
fit really well
I
with
did
the
know that one.
Yankees.
Old boys club in a huge way.
All right, well, Katie goes 0 for 3 once again in another
Make it-
rousing.
0 for 16 at this point.
I
If
think I
not-
got half a point one time.
You did. No, you're not. You're definitely more than half a point. I think you've gotten one. Maybe we just not try so hard with it.
I've told you guys
And
again and
another-
again that I don't know baseball at all.
Yeah, shot in the dark. I don't know. This has certainly been another rousing edition of.
Do you even know? And in the case of Katie Caldwell, she does not.
Fire me into the sun.
All right,
All right,
let's switch gears.
Shifting gears, even though Sean's car can't currently shift gears that well, to Formula One, where race week was back, and that's the wrong banner. We're going to recap Singapore, which was a really fun race, guys. Sean, would you like to give us a synopsis?
It was a really fun race, kind of a bit of a sleeper for the first, say, 40 laps or so. But hey, laps 52 through 62, that is what Formula One is supposed to be. And just kind of goes to show, man, what a great season we would have had if the team Red Bull Racing just didn't exist or just, stopped trying.
I could have said that about Mercedes from 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Yeah, but Mercedes
Yeah.
was never in danger of sweeping an entire season the way Red Bull was.
That's true.
Finally, a team wins a race other than Red Bull. And it's Ferrari, and it's Carlos Sainz. Congrats to him. He's been driving, really amazingly since the summer break. Got a podium last week. Got a podium in Monza last week, so that was good for the Scuderia. What do they call themselves? The Tifosi. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. And then gets his second Formula One win this week with a helping hand from his buddy and former teammate from McLaren, Lando Norris, because what they did there at the end of the race was so cool. So if you didn't watch, the Mercedes were chasing down both Lando, who was in second place, and Carlos, who was in first place leading the race. They finally caught up to him with about 5 or 6 laps to go. And then Lando and Carlos just played this great little game of chicken where Carlos was going slow enough to allow Lando to draft up to him, get DRS, open up his rear wing, so then Lando could have enough speed to defend against the Mercedes, in turn allowing Carlos to defend against Lando, in turn allowing Carlos to go ahead and win the race. It was cool cool teamwork for two guys that aren't teammates anymore. It was really cool to see them on the podium together. They were, hugging in Parc Fermé after the race, and they could tell they're like, okay, we're working for the same common goal right now, and that was a lot of fun to see.
And that's getting in Mercedes' way.
And it's what they did.
Collusion.
Well, technically a wall got into Mercedes' way, but that's neither here nor there.
Not the other Mercedes, but yeah, I guess that plays. Yeah, that plays.
The whole weekend was just so fun. Like qualifying for Max and Checo to be starting so far back, you'd think that something would have blown up or something goes seriously wrong. And the car just didn't have the pace. They were just not on the whole weekend. And it made Sundays so much more exciting because they were both out of the top 10.
It looked like that car was on ice skates the entire time. It was sliding all over the track. I've never seen that before.
It was like really bad understeer all weekend. And I think Max got on the radio during qualifying and was like, this is unbelievable, guys. Like, this car is not, he didn't say this straight up, but it was basically, he was insinuating like, this car sucks here. What's going on? I'm used to having the best car on the track.
An absolutely shocking experience.
Is this what the other drivers have to deal with?
You mean people are starving out there? What? I have all this food. It was a race that I think we needed. Sean and I spent last week talking about, all right, are we starting to count down to the Red Bull sweep? Feels pretty inevitable. And Sean was like, hey, Red Bull, if it's not Max, they also have the king of the streets in Checo Perez. And he was kind of a non-factor in this race, partially because of the qualifying result. It was because different.
He was launching his car into other cars.
Yeah, he was a factor, just not in a good way. He was a factor in taking everyone out.
Yeah, well, sometimes, some people just want to watch the world burn, Katie. 2 weeks in a row, we're quoting The Dark Knight.
I did think it was just a nice palate cleanser before Max beats everyone by 45 seconds in Japan.
I was going to say, now we can go back to that, and we will probably go back to that. How do our predictions look, though, Nick? How did yours look?
Oh, let's look back here at last week in the doc where it is gone. Oh, just kidding. I got 2 of the 3 podium placements correct.
You did.
I had Max P1, Lando P2, which stuck, and Carlos Sainz P3. Look, guys, Carlos Sainz is the best driver on the track right now, not named Max Verstappen. He's been driving his ass off for 2 months now, and I was really happy to see him win that race because I think he deserved it. My bold prediction came true, Sean. I freaking nailed it. That's 2 bold predictions nailed this season. Call me Mr. Bold. I'm also a co-host of the Bold Ball Breakdown on the Big Play Sports Network. You can find that on Tuesdays at noon Eastern every Tuesday on YouTube. Shameless.
What was remind the listeners, Nick? What was your bold prediction?
My bold prediction was that AlphaTauri and Yuki Tsunoda specifically would fail to finish the race again. Yuki Tsunoda didn't even get past lap 1 again.
Thanks, Checo.
How does this happen?
That poor little man.
Why you gotta bring his height into this?
We're a fan of short kings.
I'm showing him sympathy. I will say my predictions didn't land. They never do. They didn't land quite well. I mean, we both said Max was going to win because that's just easy points right there. He did not. He finished P5. I had Checo Perez in second place. He just yeeted his car into anyone who was beside him, specifically Yuki Tsunoda and Esteban Ocon.
Alex Albon.
What did Checo finish? 8? Finished 8th? Finished 7th or 8th. Anyway, he did bring home points, but finished 7th or 8th. And then I did say a Ferrari would finish 3rd, but I had Charles Leclerc finishing 3rd. So I went 0 for 3 on the podiums, and I missed on my bold prediction, which was there would be no safety cars. Whoops.
It's Singapore, baby. There has been every single.
Well, that's why it was bold, because, hey, I thought we were going to have a clean race. We did not. I feel more confident about my race predictions this week, which we will get into a little bit later.
Anything else? Well, actually, I have one. I want to give one hat tip to another driver, Sean's favorite American, and who so happens to be the only American on the grid, Logan Sargent. Speaking about yeeting cars into walls, Logan Sargent forgot to hit the brakes fast enough and went nose first into a wall and broke his wing off. But his wing was hanging on by literally a thread, and he managed to somehow get the car all the way back to the pits while just dragging that along like it was a sidecar, just a fortunate passenger, and stayed in the race.
I swear we need to do a Scooby-Doo style unmasking, because I swear Nicholas Latifi is driving that car right now. I swear they are either the same person, or Nicholas Latifi has impersonated Fort Lauderdale's own Logan Sargent.
He's sure upholding his spirit.
Yeah, he undoubtedly is. A buddy of mine.
He won't be. Go on.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
All I was gonna say is he won't be driving in F1 next year, will he? I think Yuki and Daniel would probably get the 2 AlphaTauris. I could see Liam Lawson being at Williams. I don't know how Logan Sargent gets that seat over everyone else.
It all depends on what the Liam Lawson situation is going to be, what the Mick Schumacher situation is going to be, but also, he is an American driver, and that's pretty valuable right now, especially for a fledgling team like Williams. How much American money is he bringing into their team? How much merchandise, how much fans, dollars and cents do matter in F1, as we know. So, you know what? If they left Nick Latifi in that car for 3 years, I feel like they can let Logan Sargent have a second year. Will they?
Different time at
Probably
Williams.
not.
They had no shot of competing. They're actually scoring points now. It's different. The expectation's a little bit higher. Can't accept that.
It feels a lot more like a Fernando Lance Stroll situation, where it's just so far in between the two drivers, whereas the other drivers simply don't have that much space in between the performance.
I feel like, though, he is also a Williams Academy driver. You don't pour so much money, time, and resources into a driver just to go, okay, you're not it, bye. Or maybe you do, but I feel like yeah, but that was more of a fly. They took Red Bull took a flyer on Nick DeVries. They're all right, let's see what we got. We don't have anything. Okay, bye. With Logan Sargent, it's a little bit different. They gave him a career. I don't know if they're going to take it away so easily.
All right, let's transition now. Let's look forward. Let's preview Suzuka. One of my favorite.
We're going to Japan.
The S curves of this place notoriously difficult to navigate. A track that fits Red Bull style more than the last one did. What are we looking forward to here? Have we checked the forecast? Is there anything crazy when it comes to weather? Or are we going to get a pretty stock race here? And last year it was raining cats and dogs when they raced here. So what are we thinking here?
There always seems to be rain about. There always seems to be some sort of craziness in Japan. Red Bull can capture the constructors title. It's a formality at this point, but they can capture the constructors title if they literally score one more point than Mercedes. So I think they got the constructors title this weekend. Oddly enough, though, he has broken the record for most consecutive wins in a row in a single season, Max Verstappen cannot win the Drivers' Championship this week. Unlike last year, he won it, if you remember, kind of controversially in Japan, because we didn't know if they were going to get half points. We didn't know if the full race was going to get run, but they decided to give him full points, and therefore he won the Drivers' Championship. Again, at that point, it was also a formality, but it was kind of just weird how it all transpired. So we're not going to get that kind of, weird weekend again, but this is always a good race. This is always a good track, and I think you'll see, again, a lot of teams kind of like they were at Monza fighting for podiums.
This is also a race that inspired some complaints from F1 drivers about the safety of driving in such heavy rain.
Yeah, that was chaotic.
It was bad. Visibility was low, and F1 even tried to test out some, I don't know, what would you call them, rain guards on the wheels, and initial results from those tests, not good. They're not close to figuring out how to stop the spray off the back of a car.
Well, last year they had that tractor situation, which,
Yeah.
funny enough, how that doesn't make it into Drive to Survive, or the missile that's launching at the start of FP2 on the first race of the season. It's funny what makes it in and what doesn't. But yeah, last year was really chaotic. And Sean, like you're talking about how we didn't know if Max had won and the race was started so late and maybe it was half points, maybe not. And then do you remember Max just sitting on that huge chair?
Yeah.
Like in that room by himself. They're like, we think maybe he's won. And then I think it was Johnny Herbert that was interviewing him that had said, yeah, I think you've won. And it was just really anticlimactic.
Yeah, it was super
It was all just
anticlimactic.
really wild.
I will say I was like a bottle and a half of champagne deep in Vegas at that point. So I don't have the best memory of that race because it was also like 1 a.m. Las Vegas time. So,
Well, because
Oh,
I think the race started late too because it was
did, yeah.
raining so hard.
yeah.
oh, that offers us an interesting situation where you'll have a little bit of a live race action on. Is that going to be Saturday night?
Saturday night. Yeah. I think it's at 11 my time. Let me check.
So I think it's 1 o'clock our time, Nick.
I see 1 o'clock our time.
Yeah.
Oh, uh-oh.
Little late night. Hey, we said we wanted to hang out and do a power hour together.
Yeah,
See
it
you
might
guys
be the
Saturday
time
night.
to do a live pod power hour. I don't know. That is enticing. That's one that you're going to want to stay up for because guess what? Red Bull is not going to sweep the season anymore because of last week. So there's hope. There's reason to believe that it is worth watching. And really, it's been worth watching beyond P1 for most of the season, and especially in the last month and a half. So tune in because we will be as well. Let's get on to our podium predictions. Katie, you lead it off.
P1, I have Max, but there's a part of me that's hoping that wasn't just track specific. It was just so strange. Like you talked about how, I think it was you, Sean, that it felt like they were driving on ice in the rear. They just, both of them couldn't get control of it. Like there's a part of me that's really hoping that something has gone wrong with the Red Bull cars. I don't believe that that's the case. And Max still had such a good drive, and it's so frustrating
Right,
even when the
yeah.
car sucks. He still did make up so many places, but I do have Max P1, but I'm spiritually hoping that's just simply not the case. I hope he's out of the points. P2, I have Charles Leclerc. I think it's been a lot of Carlos, and I think that Charles is going to step up. The Ferrari just looks really good. I think
does. You're right.
it's his moment to kind of step into it, break that narrative a bit. And then I'm going to say Oscar Piastri.
Oh,
I know it's coming.
Just signed a new contract extension. Yeah.
I know the podium is coming. He had that weird pretend one in a sprint race that doesn't actually count, but that car is just getting better and better. And I think this is the race he finally has all of the upgrades that Lando has. So, man, Oscar's looking so good. He deserved that contract. I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy for McLaren and the direction they're going. And for you, Sean, as a McLaren fan.
Thank you.
But yeah, I have him his first podium. And then my bold prediction is that both AlphaTauri cars finish in the points.
That is bold.
Very bold.
I thought you were going to actually, I'm sorry, I cut you off. I thought you were going to say both AlphaTauri cars finish.
Yeah, that would
also be
just as bold, it feels like.
Oh man. Okay.
Those are my feelings for the weekend.
For P1, guys, screw it. Max's, this isn't in the doc. I'm calling an audible. Max's streak is over. I'm going to say it until it happens. P1, Lando Norris. He's getting his first win. It's going to be in Japan. Look, the high-speed corners at Suzuka really fit the McLaren's style of car. I say Lando Norris gets his first win because if Max is behind him, does he really go for the win? They're best buddies. I mean, call it what you want, but remember, like back in 2021, Max may have let Daniel Ricciardo pass him at Monza and then just not chased him down. Okay, he might do the same for Lando. So I'm going to say Lando and McLaren get a win at Japan. P2, then I'm swapping my original P1 and P2. I say Max gets P2, and then P3. Katie, I am also going for Oscar Piastri. He's got the new contract. Did you see he tweeted out, another contract extension announcement with absolutely no drama, like winking face. And then I think Alpine responded to it with that Homer Simpson meme of him going into the bushes.
At least they have fun about it.
So yeah, I've got P1 Lando. I got P2 Max, P3 Oscar Piastri getting his maiden podium. And you might be asking, well, what about Ferrari? They've been looking so good lately. You're right. But remember, this is Ferrari.
It's Ferrari.
This is the circus. These are the clowns that wear red. So I feel like something is going to go. Murphy's Law is going to take effect here for Ferrari this weekend in Japan. And I will say that a Ferrari will DNF because it's just time.
I saw F1 Troll post a funny meme the other day with a video of a car speeding past other cars on the highway. And it was like F1 season in a nutshell. And it was labeled the car that was speeding past everyone was Red Bull. Then it had like Mercedes and it had McLaren as some of the cars that were getting passed. And then there was a car coming in the opposite direction and it was labeled Ferrari. And I was like, oh, that is very appropriate. All right. My predictions, Max Verstappen, P1. He's going to get back to winning a race. One was enough for him to not win. I do think that, Sean, despite the theory that you just offered, we talk about how Lance Stroll has a 0 out of 10 dog rating for not being able to race because of his wreck earlier in the weekend. Max Verstappen's dog rating is damn near a 10. And I think that after not winning a race, he'll probably be like, I need to get back to the top of the podium. So I think P1, no matter who's in front of him, he's going for the win. P2, Carlos Sainz, like I said earlier, driving his ass off and is not going to relent because he's got to really prove a point to Ferrari management that even though Charles Leclerc is the favorite son, that he deserves attention too. He's been one of the best drivers in the grid in the second half of the season. And P3, it's just going to be three guys who are just a bunch of buddies all hanging out on the podium together because it's Lando Norris. Just guys being dudes, drivers being race car drivers. I don't know. Lando Norris, P3. Bold prediction for me. Mercedes once again only has one car finish. Who's it going to be? I don't know. Probably George Russell not going to finish, but one of the two not going to finish. That's my bold prediction. I'm all about cars not finishing races. That's where I stake my claim in bold predictions this year.
I like it. Sean, I think it's funny going back to your point about how, he just let Daniel pass. Max wouldn't even let Checo win P2 in the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah. I told you how I feel about this. We've already discussed this. I'm not doing that. Dog rating, 100 out of 10. Carnivorous dog. Is that what it is? Carnivorous? They eat meat? Yeah.
A carnivore? Yeah, carnivorous.
I don't know. When I said it, it came out weird.
He's a dog with a W.
All right. Hate or love it. Last segment of the day. Katie, what's your hate?
I hate how early it gets dark out. It makes me sad. I hate this time of year. Everybody's all like, oh, spooky season.
How early does it get dark out for you?
This time of year, it changes so quickly. Like, it just feels like every day we're losing like 25 minutes of sunlight. Here, because we're kind of bordering the time zone line, so in the summer, it'll like start getting dark at around 10:15, 10:30. So we get a lot of sunlight here and it's really glorious. And now it just feels like it's fully pitch black at like 8:45 and it just makes me sad. And I know it's only getting darker and I'm just going to get sadder. I'm not a winter gal.
It's like, I think it gets pitch black at like 7:45 down here in Tampa. So
yeah, I was going to say it was like 8 o'clock maybe.
Yeah.
So
I just don't like how quickly it changes. Don't love winter. Don't love snow. I live in a perfect spot in the world for that.
True North, strong and free, Katie. True North, strong and free.
It just makes me sad. I just hate this time of year. But that's my hate. This time of year.
Good hate. I hate that the winter's coming. Like, that's just the worst part. It's like, God, it's going to be nice out for like 6 months. All right, Sean.
I hate having car troubles. My news car at Fox 13 in Tampa Bay. It's just been acting up ever since the hurricane, and I don't know if the hurricane had something to do with it, but today found out that my transmission is completely shot. Now, thankfully, again, this is my station car, so I don't have to pay for this or anything like that. But it means that I don't have like a surefire, like, car to work with anymore, and I need a car every day to drive around, shoot my stories, go cover press conferences, stuff like that. And the car I had, like, I was the only one that had a key to it. I was the only one that had access to it. So now I'm gonna have to start, begging, borrowing, stealing people's cars to go out and shoot my stuff. And that was a problem I used to have in my old stations, where it's like, well, can I use your car today? I'll have it back by. No, I hate doing that. So car problems, don't like those.
Boo. That's a good one.
No, those are never fun. Even when you don't have to pay for it, they're never fun. It's an inconvenience at the least, and Life disruptor at the worst. My hate is season-ending injuries because watching Nick Chubb's knee basically explode on TV sucked. We already covered it, so I won't go deep in detail. But there was a pall over the city of Cleveland on Tuesday, and they're still kind of recovering from it. Signing Kareem Hunt helped them a little bit. A little bit of nostalgia always helps when you're in a down spot like that. But couldn't have happened to a better guy in a worse situation. So sorry, Nick. I hope you recover and get back to the field at a fairly rapid rate, but not too rapid where you might risk re-injuring again. Katie, what's your love?
My love. So this was a really historic week for women's hockey, and I'm really excited about it. So the newly established PWHL, they held their first draft this week. It was a historic moment in women's hockey history. Minnesota selected Taylor Heisey with the #1 overall pick. I've done quite a bit of work in women's hockey, like I did when I was doing live shows before. My favorite one that I ever did was with the CWHL for the Clarkson Cup, about 4 days before the whole league folded. So it was one of the most powerful spaces I've ever been a part of. We sold out right away. Everybody was in the room wanting to, so we held panels, and then some of the different hockey players would sit up there with us, and we'd just kind of shoot the shit and interview and chat, and really informal. It was so fun. But there was so much good energy in that room, and then the league folded just a few days later, and then I did some work with the PWHPA players through Galvanize, and that was really powerful. But there was the two competing leagues, and it didn't feel like any of it was constructive for the game as a whole moving forward. This is just such a game changer. These women are professionals. They deserve to be treated as such. This was such a wonderful draft, and so many of my friends and colleagues were a part of covering it, and it was really special and really powerful and really, really important. And I'm just so excited for where women's sports in general are going, but women's hockey in particular. This was such a cool week.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Definitely. All right, Sean, what's your love?
I am also going to appeal to our new Canadian audience. NHL training camps start. I was going to say tomorrow, but they start today because it is now Thursday morning. NHL training camps start in about 8 hours, and I will be at one, so I better get some sleep. But I do love hockey season. It's one of my favorite sports, actually, to just kind of sit back and watch. Like outside of football and college football, like I really can just sit back and I can watch a weekday hockey game, whether it's on TNT, ESPN, ESPN Plus. I just like how there's so much access to the NHL now, because I do think hockey is just one of the world's greatest sports, and I love it. Plus, I mean, I feel good about my Pens. We got Erik Karlsson, Sid's healthy, Gino, Letang. I like it. I'm excited. Let's go.
How old is Sid?
They do look good. He's born in 1987.
He is not a kid anymore, I'll tell you that. He's definitely not Sid the kid. He is Sid the, older gentleman.
He would be 36.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he is 36, according to Google. Wow,
Yes.
Time flies when you're having fun. My love is a great weekend of college football. I'm super nervous for Ohio State, Notre Dame. I think Ohio State's going to lose, and as an Ohio State fan, that will be very painful. But I love when you have a Saturday to look forward to. You watch game day in the morning. You watch the kickoff game, the noon game, Oregon, Colorado. Go Ducks. Shout out to Kumi, Ducks fan. That's why we're on Kumi's side here. And Ohio State, Notre Dame, the night game in South Bend. Going to watch it with a couple of friends who are Notre Dame fans. And hope that the Buckeyes don't fall flat on their faces in the view of touchdown Jesus. But a good college football Saturday. There's nothing like it. Looking forward to this one this weekend. That's my love. And that is episode 15 of the Gridiron Podcast. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us. All of you who jumped into the chat and talked with us. Those of you who are going to get on your phone and leave us a 5-star review and write something so we have something to read. And to Katie's friends, is that north? That's north. I still don't know Canadian geography, so I'm guessing that's somewhere north. I mean, everything Canadian is north of where I am and where Sean is, but friends up there, closer to Santa than we are.
Great job.
Shout out to the elves. Spot a sleigh for us this December. We appreciate you including us up there. We're looking forward to welcoming in more Canadian fans, and as we welcome them in, every new Canadian listener that we pick up, a little bit more Canadian geography knowledge enters my brain. There's incentive.
That's great, Nick. I'm
Make
so
my
happy
brain
for you.
swell by listening to this podcast. For Katie Caldwell and Sean Barie, I'm Nick Shook. I cannot speak tonight. And Sean, how do we send the show into the abyss?
We say for Nick Shook, for Katie Caldwell, I'm Sean Barie. This has been episode 15 of the Gridiron Podcast. Good night, Edmonton. And as always, live life in the fast lane.